feelings za kiroho na za kidini na za kiutu. Utu wenu uko wapi? Utu wenu umeenda wapi katika taifa hili la Kenya jamani? Yani imekuwa binadamu kuuliwa ni kitu tu cha seconds tu. Tena mtu anatembea bila kujali na kufungua tu bunduki ambazo sisi wenyewe wa Kenya tumetoa ushuru kila kukicha ili zitusaidie na magaidi wale ambao wanatuvamia kama taifa la Kenya. Zitusaidie na wale ambao wanaweza kutufanyia madhara katika taifa la Kenya. Leo bunduki zimegeuka kututoa sisi roho zetu sisi kama taifa la Kenya. Haitowezekana. Sisi kama kina mama, nikiwa mama katika taifa hili na wenzangu kina mama wabunge wakiwa hapa na kina baba wabunge, hatutarudi nyuma. Hatutarudi nyuma. Sisi kwa sababu tuna haki ya mujibu wa katiba. Tuna haki ya kisheria na nchi yoyote inaongozwa na sheria, the rule of law. Na kama sheria imetupatia nafasi sisi kama wa Kenya, wewe uliye mtawala, ni sheria gani unaoifuata? Ni utawala gani unaofanya ambao utawala huu ni wa kuumiza wa Kenya? Leo wa Kenya wote ukiwamaliza kuwaua, utamuongoza nani? Ama utajiongoza wewe na mkeo na watoto wako? Lakini malipo ni duniani. Ikiwa damu ya mtoto wa mwenzako ilitoka, kama haitatoka yako, itatoka ya kizazi chako. Malipo ni hapa duniani. Kesho Mwenyezi Mungu hufanya hisabu tu, lakini malipo ni hapa. What goes around comes around. Kila anayechimba kisima kumchimbia mwenziwe, basi atakuwa amejichimbia yeye na ataingia yeye. Kwa hivyo ndugu zangu wa Kenya wenzangu, naomba tushirikiane, tuwachangie hawa ndugu zetu ambao wamepatikana na majanga ya vifo, ambao wamepatikana na majeraha, ambao wako kule makotini na wengine wako kule maseli, wanateseka, wananyanyaswa. Jamani, kwani wa Kenya tulikuwa tumefungua macho ama ni nini? Ama ya wale aliyetufanyia maovu Bwana Chebukati, ukatupa utawala uno usiokuwa na imani, usiokuwa na dini. Mtawala akikosa dini, akikosa imani, akikosa utu, ni haya ndio tutakuwa tunayaona sisi. Lakini hatutarudi nyuma. Baba, tunashukuru vinara wenzako wote, akiwemo mama yetu Martha ambaye hayuko hapa leo. Tunashukuru kila Mkenya ambaye atasimama katika vita hivi. Tunajua hata katika Biblia, katika Kurani, tunajua mitume walisimama katika vita vikubwa. Hata Jesus Christ ambaye tunamuita Nabii Isa alisimamia vita vikubwa sana. Hata Moses alipigana vita vikubwa sana, na tunajua vita vyote vilivyopigana mwisho waliweza kufanikiwa na kupita. Haikuwa Firauni alijiita Mwenyezi Mungu na hatima Mungu ilifika. Basi wewe mtawala wa sasa hujafikia kuwa Firauni, hata yako itafika inshallah. Wabillahi taufik.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mheshimiwa Mishi Mboko. Let me also acknowledge the presence of the honorable members of county assemblies, starting with the County Assembly of Nairobi, the County Assembly of Machakos. Mheshimiwa wili tumekuwa nao Kizimani hapo awali. Let me also take this chance again to thank you, honorable members of parliament and the MCAs, for having come forward to contribute very, very generously towards this cause, materially and in kind. You have been really, really a source of inspiration to all of us. Thank you, and may you continue with the same spirit. A lot more will be talked about the fund shortly. At this juncture, honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome to the stage His Excellency Dr. Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka to make some remarks. Welcome, Your Excellency.
Thank you so much, ndugu Pio Ondai. Brother RAILA, Brother Eugene, Mwami Wycliffe Oparanya, Governor Iria, Jeremiah Kioni, and our members of parliament, and leaders from all of our country. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow mourners, I've been asked to read this statement on behalf of all of us as Azimio la Umoja One Kenya. And the subject is Azimio statement on vigils, prayers, and support for police brutality victims, dated today, July the 26th, 2023. This afternoon, we took time to visit the victims of police brutality who are receiving treatment in various hospitals in Nairobi. More specifically, we went to Mama Lucy Hospital and to Kenyatta National Hospital. We have also been able to visit the city mortuary. We visited the other day Shalom Hospital with our sister mother and Jeremiah Kioni, I think, and Mwangi. We even went all the way to Machakos Level 5 Hospital. This visit was also part of our effort to get as complete a picture as possible of the pain inflicted on protesters and demonstrators, innocent Kenyans, by the police. A similar exercise has gone on in different places across our country. We wish to extend our very deep and sincere sympathies to families of the loved ones that we have lost and those who have been injured. From this afternoon's visit and reports from across the country, it is clear Kenyans have gone through horror and terror these past days. People whose only crime was to protest against policies that they feel worked against them have been shot, clobbered to a pulp, or maimed. A number of the injured may never walk again. Many may be condemned to a life on wheelchairs. These Kenyans are in our prayers, and we trust that our God, who stands for justice and whom we all know never sleeps nor slumbers, will lift them up. Unfortunately, Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki, whom I know very well, in fact, I call him in local languages out there across the River Tana as Sentaka, whom I know well. I don't know what has gone to him. Seems to love that brutality and takes pride in it. He had offered some more and heavier dose of brutality and gunfire today, despite our announcement that we would only be holding vigils in honor of the victims. We pray that the fair and just God will enable Professor Kindiki to live long enough to be able to witness justice being done to these victims of state-sponsored brutality. In the fullness of time, justice will have to be done. Justice is the only way to ensure peace and stability in our country. We know there can be no peace without justice. I refer to the book of Isaiah chapter 1 at verse 17, and I quote, "Learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, and please the widow's cause." End of quote. Professor Kindiki must make no mistake. We will pursue justice locally and internationally for these injured and slain heroes. These people who have been shot in cold blood, in cold July, are heroes and patriots. All they were asking for is to get a fair, just, and caring nation where their complaints are taken seriously as an attempt to create a more perfect nation. At this moment, we thank all those Kenyans who have extended any kind of help to the families and victims. People need a lot of help because of the magnitude of injuries and deaths.
Rosemary Waweru, Beatrice Kamoyo, Nyambura Mwangi, and Fatma Mohammed as they portray 4 church members who are drawn into a life of crime and violence in the new Showmax original series, Faithless. Now on Showmax. Sign up to watch at showmax.com.
And first responders like the Kenya Red Cross for going all out to ensure the injured got treatment and the dead got preserved with dignity. We know it was a wish of Interior CS that the injured don't get help and the dead don't get acknowledged by hospitals and government agencies. That order remains in place as we speak, which is why getting an accurate and complete figure of the dead is difficult. But we will get there. We are working meticulously, day and night, and I thank you, Pio and I and your team, even for the presentation. The world now knows what has actually happened in our country in the last few days, and I think we want to thank Opio and that team. We also thank our members of parliament and county assembly members for their continued support for and solidarity with our people, particularly in rural areas. As we speak, there are many Kenyans who are some in police custody, and I know that some of our learned colleagues have gone out there. Dunstan Omari stands out because he stood with our teams and Degwa Jiro. We want to thank you. And because some of you actually been doing it pro bono to get these young men out. Young council called Kala in Machakos got all the 43 out as of yesterday. So we really appreciate all this. And in fact, some of you are even paying because these young men can hardly pay the bail cash, 10,000, 5,000, some cannot even afford, and you members of parliament and county assembly will be able to do this cause justice. Our governors who have extended help, we recognize you and also thank you. We recognize the efforts you are making at the grassroots in rural areas where people need help most. Above all, we encourage everyone not to tire of doing good. We further take this opportunity to thank all those who have come out to honor and show love for our slain and injured heroes with candles and flowers. Indeed, they're also heroines. So a young lady who was coming from the Goreti corner there got shot for no reason, even in our private parts. Please don't tire. You've been able to give out candles out there as of midnight last night and flowers. Let's all not get tired. The vigils, the prayers, and the laying of flowers continues tomorrow and throughout the weekend. We appeal to all our houses of worship to dedicate prayers to these heroes and innocent souls and for our country. In fact, I remember some of them issuing that call to prayer, which could have been last weekend. But we say, please continue and mourn with us. Let's pray for God to soften the hearts of the pharaohs. You mentioned that very well. The pharaohs in government who would rather harm and kill our people instead of letting them go in the spirit of justice and freedom 60 years after independence. As part of our love and honor for the slain and injured heroes of this struggle, we will hold interdenominational prayers on Friday, the 26th July 2023. That's a day after tomorrow, here in Nairobi, and this should also be replicated in the counties across the country. We will bless the souls of the injured and the dead. We will pray for the pharaohs in government to listen to the cries of our people about the high taxes and the rising cost of living. We will pray for our police to know that the people they brutalize, maim, and kill are indeed their brothers, their sisters, and fellow citizens. What became of the new title, National Police Service? It is now the opposite. It is a terrorizing force. We will continue praying for and pleading with the international community and all its institutions, especially those in the field of justice, democracy, and human rights, to stand with Kenyans against a regime gone rogue. During the prayers, we will call on the international community to call Kenya security agencies to order. Indeed, some of them have called them out, like the International Human Rights Commission in Geneva. Call them out. Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. The international community must never lose sight of this fact. And either we are going as Africa to accept that it is the turn of Africa to rise and therefore be serious about the conduct of democracy, or we accept that as the law of the jungle, literally the law of the jungle applies, and making nonsense of any pretense at democracy and democratic governance. On Friday, we shall also announce the next steps forward with our anti-tax protest. Let's make no mistake. Kenyans are still hurting, and we shall not relent until this regime acknowledges this grim reality of suffering and agrees to repeal the infamous Finance Act. We call on Kenyans not to surrender. We must not, and we will not give up. Let us take comfort in the fact that the world has seen worse and more brutal regimes before. No regime can be so brutal as to outlive its people. We shall overcome. Justice shall be done. Not our will, God, but God's will. And this struggle continues, a luta continua. I thank you. In fact, looking at some of the names, a young boy of 13 years old. I mean, what has happened to a sense of morality? The majority of those killed and injured are young people. And yet, we have people in office pretending they want to help our youth get employment, our youth get to be able, because Lovik Ayondi, a minor, 13 years, Kibera Mashimoni, was shot on the right leg, a 13-year-old. We've seen them today. Like we say, my brother RAILA was not in a hurry. He wanted to see each one of them. We couldn't, because we also felt that this is an important matter. And I think the world now knows what is happening in our wonderful nation. The choice is, do you allow it to deteriorate, or do we, as Shakespeare said in one of Shakespearean tragedies, Hamlet, or do we take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing, end them? Of course, Hamlet was trying to commit suicide. We can't afford to commit suicide in our nation. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for those remarks. As we unveil now officially the wall of the patriots who paid in one way or another, either with their lives or nursing injuries, allow me to invite DAP Party Leader, Honorable Eugene Wamalwa, to lead us in a popular song by Horatio Spafford and Philip Bliss, It Is Well, as the technical team lays on stage. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I was never very good at choir. Maybe the parliamentary choir could have helped us with this, Bwana Kosin. But as the technical team is setting up, the song will be projected on the screens so that we sing together, we fellowship together as we mourn with the bereaved families. My condolences to all those who have lost their dear ones. And our prayers today go to those hospitals. There was a young man called Edward Wanjala. Edward Wanjala was 27 years old. He had gone looking for a job somewhere in Athi River. He was in Mlolongo on that fateful day. And they were fleeing from the police. And Edward, just like the other over 30 victims, was shot at the back of his head. The bullet entered at the back and it exited in the front, blowing his face. And many of the 30 victims were killed in a similar way. They were fleeing from the police. They were not posing any danger to the police. For the armed officers to be justified according to our laws to use their firearms against unarmed, peaceful demonstrators. They were not in any danger. We have had a statement issued by the PS Interior saying that police officers were attacked and one officer lost his life. It tells you who had the guns and the bullets. We are mourning over 30 shot by the police, gunshot wounds, each one of them. But they are saying there's one officer who lost their life against this over 30. We want to say poleni kwa wale wote wamepoteza wapendwa wenu. And as the team is setting up, we want to assure you by this Friday, we will be having an interdenominational service. We will continue with the mourning and the prayers through the weekend. We will be going to different parts of Kenya to mourn with you. That is what we will be doing. Now, I do not see Thank you. So as they are setting